That us, ready to rock?
We're back.
Back again.
Back again. Fucking 3 months later.
3 months later, we said we were going to do it all the time, but we're not going to start off with the same intro every single time. We do this every time.
Yeah, no. For the last like 2 years.
Yeah. So what have you got for me today?
I don't
Anything
know.
new?
Well,
Anything interesting?
I guess after we stayed up and watched 10 hours of True Detective in a row,
Great show.
we got in the spooky spirit, trying to find all sorts of spooky stuff. And it kind of reminded me of this story that I'm pretty sure every crime podcast has ever done. Like ever.
This
But
one?
yeah, I think so. I don't know. I can't even remember where the fuck I heard it, but I've got it here. We'll work our way through it. We'll try and figure it out. Yeah, it's unsolved. So
It's unsolved?
yeah, it's unsolved.
Oh, we like that. We'll try our hearts. We'll try.
We'll go through some backstory here.
Yeah.
So it's called the Hinterfeck murders.
Okay.
It happened in Germany in Hinterfecht on a farm. So this girl, Victoria Gabriel, she had 2 kids, a daughter that was 7, a son that was 2. She had her parents lived there, Andreas Gruber, who's 65, and his wife.
So like a family ranch.
Yeah, so family ranch. So a couple of mysterious things happened on the lead up to these murders.
Spookies.
So 6 months before, the maid that was like working there, like I was just helping out, she quit, and she said that she heard footsteps in the attic. Already wipe out.
That's so.
Already wipe out. Look.
So this has like a supernatural feel to it. So some sort of.
No, I don't know. Well, there's a pretty good like theory, and I think it kind of is true, but it's pretty scary. Like what happened.
Okay.
Also, I don't know this. So you don't get the look. You don't get the people.
I
What's
can't
happening.
even read.
It's
like.
So. She heard footsteps, and she thought that someone had been watching her. So she left, and then this new maid, Maria Baumgartner,
Okay.
she planned to start on March 31st. So,
So she obviously didn't hear about that in the job
yeah,
description.
she was a
Like,
classic horror movie.
Yeah.
Horror movie
new
setup.
nanny moves in
Yeah.
this creepy mansion thing. Made before was watched the whole time.
And then shortly before the murders, the grandfather Andreas, he told his neighbours that he'd found footsteps in the snow, in the forest around the building, and
So this must have been really rural. This place.
yeah, it was just in Germany in the middle of fucking nowhere. I think.
What time frame are you?
I think this is just after the First World War.
These are all the details I need to know
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
going to go into this case.
1922.
1922.
Back in the day, you know.
What do you say? I'm going to have like yarn strings all over
Yeah.
here now. Question marks up here.
So the
Chain
tracks
smoking.
in the snow, none of them led away from the house, so they were all like in the forest coming up. So like,
Snooping.
yeah, snooping and getting up to all sorts. And he also found a newspaper that didn't belong to anyone in the family. And none of the neighbours subscribed to it. Pretty weird thing,
Yeah,
because you're like,
it's-
who's murdering and
Reading the
reading the
newspaper.
news?
at
I
the
guess
same
you gotta
time.
keep up to date, you know.
Yeah.
So in the immediate days before these murders, like a few people had gone to the farm, and they noticed that no one like was tending to the farm. The family dog wasn't around, the barking, and it was really quiet, and that the mail had been like piling up with this. You know, the mailman was like, "What the fuck's going on here?" Like,
Okay.
they're not signing for their Amazon packages. Like.
Right. It's a classic sign.
So when one of the close neighbours heard about this, he gathered two of his buds, and they went to have a wee snoop around and see what's happening. They went in, they noticed all the doors were locked. They walked over to the barn, and
It's creeping me
they
out.
went in, and
This is actually making me
so
shiver.
under in the barn, underneath these boards and like hay and stuff, they found they were just all wiped out.
The whole family?
Yeah. So all of them had signs of massive head trauma. Their skulls and faces were crushed. The older daughter had strangulation marks. Or the granny had strangulation marks. The younger daughter, like the granddaughter, had like hair ripped out of her head.
Is that signs of struggle?
And she had she'd been lying there for like ages before she died, like
Underneath the floorboards?
or like in the hay and like in the barn, just all fucked up and like
Oh.
yeah.
Was all of the family accounted for? Every single one?
Yeah. I think they were all there. Like,
Okay, that rules out.
yeah,
Sometimes
rules out. Yeah,
the father or the head of the family goes a bit AWOL.
father's not there. So we'll get in. We'll get
That's
into
what
that.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
They're all
we'll get
accounted
it.
for.
We'll
Okay.
get in this, but
It's starting to heat up.
It's starting to heat up.
Starting to heat up.
We're getting into this. So they like went into they went in the house, and there was some of them dead in the house. The ma was dead in the house, and the wee boy was dead now. Like, and they had been like just absolutely like smashed to the head. Like their heads were like squished.
Okay.
So there's a lot of head squishing going on.
Yeah.
So the investigation began, and it was like a close knit kind of rural community.
Right.
So obviously, people are gossiping. Locals quickly came. They walked around the crime scene, poking at the bodies, just absolutely destroying evidence.
Oh.
Just classic fucking rural people getting up to all sorts. Eventually, so they didn't even alert the police. Like they just came in, they were fucking poking everybody, and
So
no one told the police.
Handling matters internally.
Yeah. So they eventually told the police department in Munich, and that's 45 miles away. Like so, and this so this guy George Reingruber, he drove down to Munich and spent a couple of hours. There was like basically no forensic evidence, and to be fair, like back in 1922, like I don't really know what they're looking for. Like,
well, look, I'm gonna draw some early conclusions here. I don't know, I haven't heard all the facts, but I'm gonna guess our assailant was an outsider or a drifter, because usually if it's a tight knit town, people are gonna know everyone, their comings and goings. So it's probably a safe bet to say that there probably wasn't anyone within the town, but I guess that doesn't rule out the father, because sometimes the father can go AWOL, man.
Well, I'm pretty sure old George, I'm pretty sure he kind of had the same thing of a drifter, that kind of thing, but
Sure.
see, he's the investigator.
Oh.
So see, I'm literally just reading this off, but I know other stuff, and I'm wondering if they're gonna get to it like soon,
Okay.
or not, because I know like a couple of details that I feel like have been. I'll continue with the website's going on, and I think it's missing out like some of the pretty key stuff. But anyway, so then this doctor, he did the autopsies, and he determined that the murder weapon was like a pickaxe or like a mattock, which I think is like one of those like big rake things. So someone was just squishing. And then a year later, they found a pickaxe in the attic of the house during the demolition of the actual building, because no one wants to fucking live in there. So they didn't find that. Like,
wait, hold on. How many years after?
A year.
So why?
When it was getting
they didn't search the house.
I'm guessing. To be fair, I'm guessing they just missed it or something. Like it was in the attic, and they just never really like put two together. Like, it was like the doctor who did the autopsy. He was like, oh, it's probably a pickaxe, and I don't know how much like kind of internal like who's talking to who, like what the like reports are like back then, but I'm guessing it was just completely, they just glossed over that there was a pickaxe, because I guess it's a farm. It's not that strange to have like tools.
But I don't understand if during the investigation, if they were interviewing, past employers of the farm, and if they didn't talk to the maid, she would have said that she heard footsteps in the attic. I would have maybe searched the attic for some sort of clues.
But to be fair, I don't know the timeline of this. I don't know who.
Did she maybe say that after?
Yeah, maybe she did. Oh wait. No, okay. So hold on. This is not talking about the details that started coming up. So they knew what date the murders occurred, because Maria, the maid, who had just started working, so this is the new maid, she literally just started working the day of the killings. So her sister had visited the farm that afternoon, and the mailman discovered that the mail the next day on Saturday, but the family was already dead and the letters lay untouched. So they could like determine that it happened on the Friday night.
Okay, but when was the family last seen alive?
I'm guessing it was that. It must have been like
so this all happened
the day before, like,
one night.
Yeah, they must have
killed the whole family.
Yeah, but then it starts because they only found a thing. I think it turns out that the guy was just. I'll see if it comes up. Maybe there's like a reason that it's like they're going it very like bit by bit to try and just like reveal things like.
Was there one set of footprints outside the?
Yeah, I think it was just one. Yeah.
One guy taking out the whole fucking family.
So they first thought it was a robbery that had just gone bad, like, but all the cash was left in the house.
Yeah.
So already, something else afoot. So going off the evidence, they decided that the perpetrator had stayed hidden on the farm for a couple of days after the murders because someone had fed the livestock, prepared food, like he just munched everything and they were like fucking larder. Like he just started gobbling everything, like, so that's pretty fucking weird.
Why feed the
And
livestock?
neighbours saw that there was smoke coming from the chimney
No way.
afterwards. So he was just there lighting a wee fire, chilling, having bread rolls or whatever you eat back then. Like.
In the house, whatever, the little boy and the mum were dead in the house.
Yeah.
So he didn't even move them to the barn.
No, he just went, squished their heads,
And they were
got them munching. So during the scandal, then the police started hearing all this kind of scandal about this Gruber family. So
Do they have sketchy past?
they're up to all sorts of nonsense.
It's usually like goes.
But
like,
weird nonsense. So something that kept on coming up.
See if you say cult shit, I'm gonna fucking freak out.
Well, it's kind of along them weird lines, but it's not as supernatural as that.
Okay.
Some unknown person had filed a complaint in 1914 or 1915 against Andreas Gruber, so the grandfather, and his daughter, the ma, for having incestuous relationships. So at the time, Victoria would have been pregnant, would have recently given birth to the daughter.
Incestuous daughter.
I'm not pointing no fingers, but
I'm just going to go ahead and say, if I was drawing early conclusions, father's absent. Rumours of incestuous going on between his father and his wife.
No, her father and her incestuous. Like, so his
stepfather,
his father-in-law, yeah,
and
is right his wife.
That's enough to induce a crime of passion, like.
This exact thing still happens in South Almaty to this day. But so that's pretty fucking weird. So you're probably wondering, where's the father in all this?
I'm wondering that.
So Carl Gabriel, which is what his name was,
right?
He died. Apparently.
Dead.
On the battlefield in 1914.
Okay. Oh, this is a heat love.
So,
was his body found? Accounted for?
I don't know. Them trenches are like, I don't think.
Because they didn't.
To be fair, I don't know. I'm pretty certain it wasn't because, but apparently some neighbor had said that he knew or something and was going to leave her anyway, but then war started and he got sent to war.
How old was the daughter?
She was only born then in 19. So the reason why he apparently was going to leave is because he thought that the daughter wasn't his.
Oh, I thought maybe he was going to leave her and then she was pregnant and gave birth and then he went a bit AWOL. But he was like there when they must have been just riding each other, and he was just like, I don't think that daughter's mine. And then apparently he was like, I'm gonna leave you, but then war broke out and he got sent to war anyway, so he didn't really have a choice. But then this is all hearsay. It's conjecture. This is conjecture. This is neighbours, a couple of hands talking away, and they do talk. They do talk like. So especially whenever it's a tight, even in a tight knit community, and even more tight knit rural family, there tends to be the people will gossip and almost inside rumors.
I completely forgot. I didn't realize this happened. The court found them guilty, and they both served 1 year in prison
for incestuous.
Yes. So I guess that kind of answers that one. Apparently, she only served a month though. But
found guilty? Did they plead guilty?
I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have that kind of information here. But I'm guessing though, how do you improve that? Like how does that work?
Yeah, they would have to confess,
I guess. But then it would have said I don't know,
because there's no way you can.
Yeah.
DNA
so
the
a couple of wee additional clues. Some witnesses have reported that there was a mysterious man hanging around the Gruber farm, and believed he might have been the culprit. One individual had passed by the farmhouse, said he crossed paths with a man carrying a lantern there. However, because of the glare, he couldn't see his face.
No, that's so creepy.
I hate that. That's
horrible. Did he get a description?
No, because he couldn't see his face. I don't know. Probably like
Build.
Probably thought nothing of it. You know, in a rural wee town, probably thought no one is up to no good. So.
Well, you notice a man is small, but he must have been average then.
Yeah. So. Like over the years, like because of this, people saying this, people saying that, they literally had more than like 100 suspects, like, and they had no, like, they never got any arrests because, like, you know, back then, like, how the fuck are you supposed to do anything, especially because there's no cameras, no nothing, no like, not like I'm guessing like even like people's documents and stuff like that, it's gonna be so dodgy and it's just gonna be like, you know, who knows though. But they had a couple of main ones. So one of the main suspects was a guy called Lorenz Schlittenbauer.
Okay.
And he was the man who initiated the search. So he was the neighbor.
Initiated the search.
He was a neighbor, yeah. So I guess that's always kind of like,
no.
Well, you know, you're there. But
did he have a farm, rivaling farm?
I was a neighbour, so I'm guessing they were all kind of farmers. Like, you're in the middle of fucking nowhere, nothing else to be at, probably have a farm. So according to the interview, old Schlittenbauer had been he was riding Victoria. He was riding the man out.
What?
Yeah, she was up to no good. Like, so apparently she wanted him to marry her. And he was kind of open to it, but then when she said that she was pregnant again,
her dad,
with her, like she was basically like, "This is your daughter, like marry me. I'm pregnant with your kid, like marry me." And he's like, "I think that's your dad's, mate. That's not me." So he was kind of like, "Fuck this." Like,
well, I mean, he's a good suspect because that ties him in. He's got a motive. That gives him motive.
Yeah,
but that kind of eschews the whole father angle, because if the father wanted revenge, he would have killed him too.
Yeah.
If it was some sort of feud.
And also,
this is the
we all know
mystery podcast.
We all know a couple of crazy bitches, but is it enough to smash all their heads in, including their family, their kids, their grandparents? Like, you know.
Yeah, that's that. It's usually whenever like an argument gets out of hand, like though that's
and
like proper.
Would that make sense that he's snooping around? He's like in their house, like creeping.
Could be a deranged guy.
Maybe, but I don't know. In terms of, you know, she seems like quite the wee article.
Yeah,
she's out there riding her dad, her neighbour,
everyone but the father.
Everyone but poor old Carl, who's away getting shot at, like.
Who's dead?
So
he was dead.
So he would then apparently he filed a complaint saying that they were up to incest and all that nonsense, and she then started like crying to him, being like, "Please accept like fatherhood of this child," and then he agreed and withdrew the complaint. So he's like, "Alright, okay." He was simping a bit. I was like, "Right."
She decided to father the child.
He said, "Yeah, okay, it's mine then." But he
in
said,
the absence of the father.
Yeah, and he said that he never knew if it was his though. And apparently then these kind of statements just like solidified the police being like, "Oh, he's innocent, so it's not him." So that was so that's him. Straight on the record. He's sweet apparently. So next one, Carl Gabriel. Oh, dead on the battlefield, like so.
Yeah.
His husband was among one of the suspects. Although reportedly killed in World War One, they never found the body. Wipe out. So the police can't, they need to confirm his death. And so some people, obviously like us, kind of theorized that he returned to seek revenge because he knew they were up to fucking all sorts.
Maybe he thought his whole family was
but then the investigators, they talked to a couple of his old war pals, and they said that they saw his body, and then they just stopped pursuing the matter. But the tale gained currency and received a boost at the end of World War II. So this is down the line, when some German prisoners claimed to have seen Carl Gabriel in a Soviet Russian uniform. So I'm implying that he was on the World War One. Like, he's definitely fucking shell shocked, all that. He's like, I swear I'm gonna go back and kill that bitch. Comes back, murks the whole family, and then just runs away to Russia. And then ultimately Ben becomes a Russian soldier in World War Two, which is spooky.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have been able to speak Russian.
Ah, well.
Did he learn that in 20 years?
Yeah, easily. Like, I'm sure.
What age would he be whenever he was enlisted?
I have no clue, but it does check out. It does check out. Like he could, if he was young back then, people start families when they're fucking young as fuck. Yeah. He went to war 20 years down the line, like, yeah, could be. It is weird that, like, if German prisoners, like, fucking know that guy, like. But then also, like, how the fuck did they know him? Like, what is that about? But it is just weird that that's like a thing that multiple guys were like, yeah, we saw him. You never know. It does, yeah.
Pot is cooking here, like.
So then the police, they interviewed so many people, but they could never find a motive or stuff like that. So they closed the file in 1955. This is not fucking ages after, like. In 2007, they reopened the investigation.
2007, 50 years later after they closed it.
Yeah, almost
60 years.
Like, yeah, well, yeah, and like, 2007, like, it's fucking almost like you're coming close to 100 years after.
Yeah.
But but they've done that loads now, because with the likes of DNA and stuff, you can like start like trying to work your way back through, like, even like descendants, and then people like getting their DNA, getting stuff, like, just also like but I think it was like a police academy that reopened it, so it's kind of like a, like,
train.
Yeah, almost like kind of just a thing to get do, like, but because, like, of evidence and like witnesses were obviously dead by then and stuff, it kind of made it just impossible.
Would the little girl have been still alive?
She was dead. She was murdered.
Oh, fuck yeah! Sorry.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No, she like lasted the longest, but then eventually just like bled out.
She's dead.
Yeah, but she, like, they knew by like the autopsy that she had been alive for like ages after, but was just like dying, like, in the fucking barn.
Any signs of abuse to her?
I don't think so. But then I don't know if they maybe even checked, like. But apparently, though, the team that made it, this police academy, they agreed on a theory, but they kept it in secret to respect the descendants of the suspect. So apparently they think they knew who did it, but because obviously, it's pointless, like, no one's gonna get, like, what are you gonna do, like? But obviously whoever it was has, like, descendants, so they were like, alright, we'll just keep it secret, like.
So he might have a powerful family or something.
Who knows? Yeah, could be anybody. Like, to be fair, it could be anybody. Then, like, if they were if they're very confident, like, the fact that the whole of them agreed on who they think it was, that kind of means that, they're pretty certain. That means they have something that, like, they figured out that.
And that's not released?
No.
What?
They said they were just gonna keep it secret, like.
In 2007?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So so that's kind of that. Like, there's all sorts of. It's kind of spooky. Of, like, just them. Imagine being the maid that got away. Being that maid who was like, fuck that, creepy house, creepy people.
She worked there for one day?
No, she's dead. She died. Like, that maid turned up, immediately got marked. Like, she's dead. But the one that was like, this place is freaking me out. I'm getting out of here. Like, she's definitely sitting there like.
Thought she was being watched.
She was like,
did they talk to her more?
I don't know.
How would they interviewed her? She would have been around the family. She would have known what was going on. The arguments that would have spat, things that would have been said.
You just you have to wonder, like, so, like, get out the place. Like, I guess, you can't really say, but it's 1922. Like, I wonder how their way of going about things was, and even, like, thinking, like, of reasons why someone would have done it and stuff. Like, it probably. like
And
PT, like back then, like
people didn't really learn
PTSD.
about shell shock and stuff.
Yeah, like that was
Yeah.
kind of on a like that. You know, that was kind of break news. And then think about like where it was. Like it was a rural place. Like you're like 45 miles outside like the nearest city.
Where was he stationed?
I actually have no clue. But
That
well,
could be
I'm
interesting.
guessing. Yeah, it actually could, because I wonder if he was stationed on the Eastern Front, on Russia's side,
Yeah.
or the Western Front. I'll actually look it up.
I could give some insight to where he would have gone if he would have been still alive or travelled. I need to, if I were to really think about it, so I need a timeline and like visualize a timeline and try to see.
Yeah, to try and like see what happened, but
I mean, if the
I looked at
father,
it,
right? If the
nothing really comes up
father,
here, but
right? This is my theory. Okay, I'm probably to say that they're keeping the academy is keeping their theory under wraps because of implications due to him having family or descendants or whatever. They obviously don't think that it was the father.
they're not. No, well, like what if this guy went to Russia and had his whole life, like he might have another family, or
Yeah.
you don't know. Could be the name. Could be it literally could be anybody. Like it could be someone that we haven't talked about. It could have like, God knows if there's someone passing through. If there was,
Well, this is my.
like the best story is that it is the father.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that is
the
kind of what
way-
you kind of almost like. Kind of hope it is, because
Yeah, but
that's
sometimes
like
you bend a narrative.
Yeah, exactly. It is it's like the creepiest like
Scenario.
scenario.
Well, to be fair, he could have went to war, knew the things that were going on between the in-law and his wife, was annoyed about it, but he was enlisted, he knew he was going to leave her, went to war, we know what war does to people, shell-shocked him, made him a bit cuckoo. He may have came back after, I don't know, maybe not even faking his death, maybe opportunity, bit of an opportunity. Went back. The thing that kind of baffles me is feeding the livestock. Why would a drifter feed the livestock? That would be something that a father would do who knew the ranch and knew what he had to do. A father would be eat the food, stay in the house like it was his house,
Stay in the house.
feed the livestock. Kind of like almost maybe have that peace and quiet that he wanted to, just kind of chilled in the house for a bit and then kind of walked off maybe.
It's also because like
Had some
the fact
loose ends
that
to tie up.
the newspaper, the kind of footsteps, the attic, like it is very. It would be very risky for a drifter or someone to kind of felt like he knew the lay of the land.
Yeah.
Like, he's like.
So did the footsteps happen whenever the father was at war?
No, I think it happened like a month or two before.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Like,
because that doesn't.
Yeah.
That is strange.
So I'm guessing like at this point he was he's supposedly dead for years now. Like, so it gives him like ample opportunity to kind of make his way back from wherever he was, doing whatever he was, like, to get back to work. It's, you can't just, I guess, like technically he's then deserted.
Yeah.
So you can't really, like, just like hop on like a bus home or something. Like,
Yeah, you get.
Yeah.
Especially back then.
Especially if you're nuts. You've absolutely lost the plot. But yeah, it is. I think it's just that the fact that people had said they saw him when they were prisoners of war. It's kind of just weird. Like, that's a weird thing.
Would they have caught wind of the story?
Oh, I'm gonna guess 100% because it's like, exactly. So then, but you can't take, like, you literally have to take the whatever
With a pinch of salt.
Yeah, with everything. It's so long ago.
Yeah.
Everything has to be.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It's a creepy.
It's so creepy.
Story.
Like, just the whole, like,
Get the call. That gets the. So what was there any resounding theories? What was the main one? What was the most accepted theory? Was it the father? Do they think it's a bit of a far cry from?
I don't know. Like, again, it's kind of like whatever you think. Like, no one. Like, obviously we don't. You're just reading off the fucking internet, but So I don't know, and the people that actually do have the actual like the reports and stuff, the police, like they say that they they kind of decided on something, but they won't say. So it is kind of whatever you kind of think of it, but it is it's weird. It's very creepy.
It is very, very crazy. I love unsolved mysteries, and I love mysteries and crimes, and it's like the greatest thing to get into. Like, it's so addicting. Like, once you
just
get
something
in,
about that, like especially back then, like it's just such a, you gotta think like being a police officer, like, them kind of mass like murders and serial killers.
police officers then would just been some guys.
Yeah,
they would just been some.
And
like,
you've got nothing. Like really, you have, if especially when they really had a lack of knowledge when it came to just like serial killers, like that kind of thing of like people killing people for no reason. Like that's like once they can't find a motive, that's you done. Like they're like, well, I don't know why not. Like the neighbor wouldn't have done it, so we have no one else. Like who else would do
that
this?
didn't even become a thing until like even the early 70s, 80s. Like they still was like you can't like preemptively look for someone or profile someone whenever they've never done anything before, because usually like serial killers usually haven't, sometimes like the smart organized ones usually haven't offended before, like they're just.
And then if you don't have DNA, if you don't have cameras, if you don't have, how are you supposed to?
It's like a hunting ground,
like the whole, you've got the whole of like, it could be anywhere.
Especially in those rural things. Like even now today, around rural Ireland, like goofy shit could get up in there, like, because
like you think of when, especially that idea of like wartime, and you think during the Troubles would be a pretty great way of covering up if you were just murdering people.
Oh yeah, because you could just,
because immediately the police is going to be like, oh, it turns out they were Catholic, or it turns out they were Protestant.
Yeah,
it must have been something to do with the Troubles, and you're just sitting there like, whatever.
It's like a hurricane thing with the detective, kind of like
people going like, Louisiana, like we were saying this, like how fucking freaky of a place that is.
Scariest place I've ever.
Down at the bayou, like, and Louisiana got the most serial killers in the US.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's so many creepy stories. There was this one called like New Orleans itself, I think is like got the most for like in a city. Like there's like a couple of famous ones. There was this woman called actually I can find her name, but basically she was like this like some like dame or like whatever, owned a huge house in like New Orleans, and had like loads of slaves. And she apparently had like this like torture chamber like in her basement, and like there's like a famous story I think where like people saw there was like this like wee black girl was like on the roof trying to escape, and she like just booted her off or something.
The roof?
Yeah, I don't know, like there's just crazy. Her name was Delphine Lalaurie, and she was a New Orleans Creole like socialite and serial killer who tortured and murdered slaves in her household.
She looks like a cold, stone cold bitch as well. Like, look at those fucking eyes. Those paintings, like those portraits,
they're so scary.
They're fucking creepy as shit. Like.
So yeah, they're like her house is still like, it's kind of part of like, it's like still there in New Orleans. You can see it.
It'll be creepy to visit.
And another famous one is the Louisiana axe murder. So this is this guy that went into people's houses, killed them with their axe. Like he didn't bring his own axe. He just went into your house, found an axe, and just murdered you. And then he said he sent this thing to the newspaper and was like, if you play jazz out your window at night, I won't kill you. So people just like started just playing jazz music outside their window, and he never killed anyone that was doing that. Like it's just so fucking weird.
It's the creepiest thing ever. It's like that guy. Was there a guy who said he was like, if you leave your door unlocked, if he knows your door's locked, he won't do anything. But if you leave it unlocked, he'll go in and he'll kill you, or something.
Yeah.
It was something like that. It's like if you're complacent enough to leave your door unlocked at night, he'll come in. So like, But if the door's locked, he'll just like walk away.
Like, I fully understand why Americans want guns. I 100%
I would want a gun.
be
Hearing these
packing
stories.
heat at all times. Just anytime I was at the door, postman or not.
Yeah, I'd be begging for someone to break in just so I could fucking unleash the fury. Like.
Yeah, fuck that. Like, how scary would that be? Just being like out in the middle of nowhere and
Two barrels of pain, like
you always wonder what, you know, in like movies there's always that like kind of stereotype of like they like pull up to someone's house in like the middle of nowhere and the guy comes out with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah, I would do that.
Of course
especially
you would.
If you're in the Louisiana Bayou, you're in that creepy ranch thing, like.
And they just like all you have to do is throw the body in and the gate is
gators get it. Anything gets it.
Yeah.
It's
so.
This
creepy.
is what I was thinking. Is like, does Louisiana have the most serial killers because of pure opportunity, because of the fact that there's so many places to hide a body?
Them two things, that girl and the Ash murderer, they were in New Orleans. They were in the city, like the biggest city there. Like, I don't know, something in the water. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like the way Louisiana, like New Orleans itself is like a weird city. It's got like different rules. Like the drinking age is 18. It's the only place in America where the drinking age is younger. It's a very like it's got that like, you know, it's very French kind of oriented. Like you learn French in school. There's like the French Quarter, there's that like Mardi Gras, all that stuff. Like seeing, like, you get 2 weeks off. Like if you're in school, you get 2 weeks off for Mardi Gras, and you know, people just say you just get steaming. Like there's so much underage drinking. It's just 2 weeks off school, just party. It's like just a huge party. But then you got all that like fucking, get that weird spooky stuff. Like,
have you read about or seen anything about the Cecil Hotel?
Well, the only thing I've heard of it is when you were telling me absolutely fucking shit faced the other night.
It's steaming, like, because it is fucking weird, man. Like that hotel is like a breeding ground for like the most, like, do you know that guy? Do you remember the one we watched, Night Stalker? You know, Richard Ramirez. He stayed in the Cecil Hotel. That's where he went. He stayed there at night, and people would just see him like covered in blood walking through the things, and everyone would just be like, just another day at the Cecil Hotel, because everyone was fucking killing each other. There was like, the attendants at the hotel would just sometimes go in, people would be OD'd.
Do you guess what the fucking Premier Inn Holdings here looks like?
Yeah, the fucking Ibis.
Yeah, the Ibis.
I've said that, I wouldn't be surprised, like, because what shit would go up on. But this Cecil Hotel thing, like, obviously the most famous case out of there was the Elisa Lam one. That's what the vanishing of the Cecil Hotel is about.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty crazy story, like. It's pretty popular on Netflix now. Like, people are gonna start talking about it. I bet it's gonna be like that.
I remember seeing it like ages ago, like seeing clips of her and like the elevator like shitting herself.
Yeah,
and stuff.
The elevator thing is so creepy. She's like doing all these movements with her hands, and she's like looking in and out of the elevator, pressing all the buttons like frantically. So basically, like the long story short, what happened was she was a Canadian student. She blogged all the time. She would like kind of like update her life. She would talk about it like kind of like that way, kind of like a really detailed online profile. So she would just talk about everything. She moved, kind of talked about how she first thing she said was she suffered from bipolar disorder, and she would take meds for it. And so she was like saying all that, and she's like, I need to get out of Canada. I want to go see the world. There's so much more things to see. I want to go do that. So she moved to California then from Canada, whatever she's from, I don't even know. But then she moved, and her parents were like, call me every day, call us every day. So she would call every day. That would be what she would do. Yeah. But then she stopped calling. So the parents kind of got a bit freaked out, filed a missing persons report, because she was alone in California. Like, she had no friends. She was there. So they filed a missing persons report. They found out that she was staying at the Cecil Hotel. Obviously, even before that, Cecil Hotel had a reputation about. There's all about, just being and it's right in slap bang in Skid Row. Like where all that creepy shit happens. So that's where, like, half the time Cecil Hotel wasn't even, like, they would have like monthly and yearly rates, so people would just live there. Yeah. So like there would just be like a crack day, and apparently like there's this guy that was talking, even in the documentary, the guy said you wouldn't go to like the 14th, because obviously this was one of those old fashioned hotels that didn't have our 13th. They omit the 13th floor.
I'm pretty sure
most of them do that. It's a weird thing. I think it's like a Japanese thing or something. That thing is like, because 13 in Japanese means like death or something. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is that. I'm not sure, but so he like the 14th, 15th floor, no one go there because that's where all the murders happen. Like the very top, like where people sit, commit suicide, jump out the windows, and all like just so much creepy shit happening. But anyway, she was living there, and she just vanished. And these detectives that came in, um, like was like, right, we'll look at obviously the CCTV footage, and the CCTV footage, like there was obviously there were places that just didn't have it in the hotel. Like it was kind of like, and then the one that they were given, this is the one that's like, there's this thing that I really hate that they in the documentary they talk about these guys, web sleuths. Web sleuths, they use this word about like 100 times. Like web sleuths were basically these guys that didn't have any jobs.
Fat nerds.
Like there's this guy, it was like I was in between jobs, so I had low time, so I got really invested in this case, saying I like spent upwards of 1,000 hours investigating this case.
I started investigating him.
Yeah, creepy. And I was thinking, what are you investigating exactly? You have absolutely no idea what is going on. You don't have. First of all, this was way before any autopsy reports because they didn't have a body. These were looking to find her alive because at this point they didn't know what was going on. She had disappeared. Then obviously the infamous elevator footage came out, and they noticed that like it is kind of creepy. Like the whole timestamp is like all fucked up. Like for the CCTV footage is like completely messed up. You can't read it. It's like completely illegible. So like people had to like decode it to see what times. And they noticed that like the time would jump, like it was edited, bits were cut out, and like there was a bit where when the doors finally closed, when she kind of like, she was in freaking out in the elevator, moving her hands about, flailing, kind of looking in and around like someone was following her. She walked away, and I remember one of the weirdest things was that the whole time that she was freaking out in the elevator, the doors never closed. It never closed, and then as soon as she left, the doors closed. Then as she walked away. And then they noticed that like the door kind of like cut and then closed, so like there was a bit cut where it, like the door jumped a bit, so it looked like there was cut footage there. So they had decoded this timeline. They knew that there was time missing in the footage, and then some guy noticed that there was like a tiny little like few pixels of a part of a foot that didn't look like it kind of like added up with the way she was walking, and it kind of like slipped away, like there was someone else with her. So then obviously then all these web sleuths started forcing this narrative of foul play. So they were just convinced that she was murdered and stuff, and it was all, and the detectives, like it goes to them in the documentary, and they're like it doesn't talk to them that much because they talk to the web sleuths more, and the detectives are kind of just like, we just did the work, like, and we went in, we looked to see, searched through hours and hours and hours of footage, CC footage, tried to find her in and out. Did this went to door, did legwork, police work, talked to her, like her the people that she was staying with, like the people and all. But this was all during an ongoing investigation, so none of this stuff would have been released to the web sleuths.
You always kind of see that, like.
But the web sleuths were like, the police are doing nothing, and they started saying that there was corrupt people in the LAPD that were like trying to like shut this up, and they said that the hotel was involved. To be fair, the girl I don't know if she actually worked out or not. I don't know. She was creepy as shit. Like she looked like she never blinked and had this weird twitch, and like she was weird. But basically, they said that like somehow the hotel was in LAPD's pocket. They had gone up that far as a level, as far as this goes, and as far as conspiracy theory goes. And so basically, then it came out. So all these websites were going crazy, like saying that like she would have been died, and then this guy found her in the water tank above the thing, because there was like, two guests were like, the fucking water pressure is weird and it's brown. The water's brown. They were brushing their teeth, drinking it, and fucking showering it, and then they called maintenance. Maintenance went up to the top, opened the top of the tank.
Yeah,
she was floating in there, like pretty decomposed, like kind of well, not decomposed, but on its way there, like bloated probably, I don't know. And so they were just drinking like human juiced water, like
nice,
or whatever would have came out of her.
Tasty.
Yeah. and they were seeming pretty calm about it all. Like even after in the report, they were just like, yeah, we were drinking that water and stuff. So then
I would never drink from a tap ever again.
yeah, no, never, and I wouldn't drink from a fucking hotel tap.
Yeah,
anyway.
to be fair.
I
Especially
wouldn't
in
do
like
that.
Skid Row in California.
No, not a chance. But and these guys were from the two guests that found the water. They were from Plymouth, so they were English people, and they went and like I wouldn't even drink the water there. But
To be fair. Immediately, I think she kills herself. Like, why is that ruled out? Because
Yeah.
if she,
it was ruled out because they thought foul play because they thought someone was with her in that elevator, and also
but do you know, you ever seen that, like,
when
where-
she was fine.
like them CCTV, like there's that like skipping thing where like, because
Yeah.
it's like so much recording,
Yeah.
it like just like jumps, like
Yeah.
it's not really that big of a, and especially the police can just look and see all their CCTV and be like, well, there's no one else there, like those.
Yeah.
I
But they don't know that. See, like the web sleuths that they like, I don't know. They just think they're doing stuff, and at the end of the day, I watched the whole documentary, and if you boil down the findings like of what the web sleuths actually did or like, contributed to the case,
yeah.
was that they went to the hotel. All these YouTubers and stuff went to the hotel, kind of like videoed their vlogs about it all creepy. Kind of like if I was the family, I'd be kind of like, this is kind of fucked up.
That's
Like
weird.
yeah, but they were like doing this and like, and then what they found out was they looked at the buttons that she would have pressed and like kind of like cross reference with the video,
Yeah.
and they found out that she was pressing the hold elevator button, so that's why it didn't close. So they figured that out.
Yeah.
The police would have
Kinda
already
thought-
done that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I don't know.
yeah, it's stupid, and like the way they talk was, it just kind of pissed me off. And then there was another bit, which was the fact that this is so this is what they were convinced that foul play had happened because of this one fact. When she was in that water tank, it was found with the lid closed, and this was like a 20-pound lid, and the lid kind of like, it's not like you lock it; it just kind of flaps over. So she was inside, and there's space that there's no way she could have closed that when she was inside.
But what if she just like kind of slipped in?
Yeah, like kind of slipped underneath it.
Yeah. I
but
think I solved
but,
it.
But this is.
I'm a web sleuth now.
Yeah, but this is what. Well, the websites were not. They were like, no, this is. There's no possible way that she could have closed this flap over the water thing. They were convinced, and then the autopsy report took like months to come back. So they were like, this is so suspicious. Why is it taking so long for this autopsy report to come back? But is like they talked to the guy, and he was like, yeah, like she drowned. Like we looked at the body, like there was no there was no signs of struggle, there's no signs of sexual abuse. She was naked. That was one of the things that she had no clothes. That was another thing that the web sleuths were like, well, who the fuck took her clothes off? Like that would be like why would she take her clothes off? That was a thing. But the autopsy said like there was just no signs of foul play that they could find. They did a toxicology report, and they found that there was no signs of any like hallucinogenic drugs in her system.
Yeah.
So this is what it was. This is where it kind of gets weird to their websites, is that they crossed not discernible the cause of death, but then scribbled it out on the report and changed it to suicide. So whenever the autopsy report then became public record, which took a while for that to happen, they were like, what is this? This is obviously... They were like, and they were like, the first thing he said was, when I saw this report, I completely disagreed with the coroner. I completely disagreed with the autopsy report. You did the test? What are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? What do you mean you disagreed? What does that mean? And then, what was the thing was then, at the end, because I feel like in that documentary, the timeline is skewed, because I feel like because it makes it out to be like the police did these like routine checks like way after when they should have, but I realized it obviously was all done very quickly.
Yeah.
But they stretched it out and put these web sleuth bits in, so it looked like it was kind of like complacency on the police side. It's kind of weird the way they do it.
But it's Netflix. Like think of like Tiger King and that making a murderer, where Netflix they're making it's entertainment. They're making a documentary, and then people like look, they watch a Netflix documentary, and then they think that they're like somehow being like, I think I'm like seeing something that the police didn't, and you're like, no, you're not. Netflix is just like they're making a narrative to make it look like a fun story,
like a beginning, middle, end, whatever. So the web sleuths, like, and I'm just kind of, it just started to piss me off because I was like, what are these guys trying to like? They're trying to pursue a mystery. Like, if anything, they're bending a narrative to their favor. Like, they wanted something
weird,
more dramatic, more like crazy. And then there was talks about the supernatural and stuff. Like, they added that part in, and it was all. But there was one bit that was completely glossed over in the documentary that kind of like confused me, because I was like, if you're going for a conspiracy angle, would this not be your like biggest clue ever? Was then after a few months, or maybe a few weeks or something after her death, there was a TB, like tuberculosis outbreak in Skid Row. Like, everyone started getting, even in the hotel and stuff. And the test kit that they used to figure out whether they had tuberculosis quick or not was called the Lam Elisa test. And the girl who died was called Lisa Lam.
To be fair, but an ELISA test, that is a thing, right?
Yeah, but
that's like that thing that's used in, but so
I don't know, but it was like,
maybe it was just a sick joke that them guys made. Like someone in a lab was just like, where's this outbreak? Oh, do you know, like the Cecil Hotel?
But I was like, that must have just but I was like, they never released. They were just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, the test kit that they used for TV was the exact name of the girl who died. But anyway, that was that, and then just completely moved on. I was like, do you not want to maybe go into that and kind of like see what actually happened there and what that was? But
people are strange.
Yeah, people
got a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, so realistically, I think what the conclusive theory is that her bipolar disorder was a little bit more serious than anyone thought, because when they talked to her family, she had manic episodes and she would pretend that she thought that people were chasing her through the house and stuff.
Yeah.
Her mates, like bunkmates, whenever she was staying at the Cecil Hotel, said had to file so many complaints about her that she had to be moved to her own private room because she was like putting notes in their beds like, get out, like screaming shit at them, locking them out of the thing and not letting them in, all going absolutely nut. Turns out that she, like, it showed like her dosage for her disorder, like or her medicine, and it was like 60 and then 70, so there was more in it than previously. So they realized she's not taking her meds. She like was stopped taking her meds beforehand, and then like doctors that came in was like, I studied the footage of the elevator, like her behavior is indicative of someone who is having a manic psychotic episode. She obviously thought someone was chasing her, went up to the roof, jumped in the fucking water tank, turned her clothes off.
Once you get like, it's not like a thing, like when you start getting like fucking hypothermia and shit, you take your clothes off. Like, that's kind of
but that wasn't enough for the web sleuths apparently.
But people, it's such a thing, like people do get very obsessed about stuff, and even that one I've never watched, you know, like that Luca Magnotta, that stuff for them guys are just like, them weird guys are just like getting way too into it and like trying to figure stuff out. Like,
but to be fair, they actually, in that case, is the only time where I thought they actually did something, because they were like actively looking for a suspect, like they were looking for someone rather than making conjecture about.
I always kind of get that. It's like, really, see, like these investigators, like what do they have to gain to like try and cover up this thing, when especially there's so much like like facts that kind of point towards like, you know, it'd be different if it was like, oh, she was like sound of mind and like never had any problems and was you're like, okay, come on. But
you know, days leading up to her death, she was being an absolute psycho, going down to the lobby screaming in the street and all. Like,
I don't know. No, it's just kind of.
And then you're like, oh, could she have been fed drugs? But then you're like, toxicology reports, nothing in her system, man. You know.
Do you ever? I remember, do you know in like South Korea, like them K-pop stars, like they're like seen as like gods.
Yeah.
Like there was this one girl, and she like just said like she posted like an Instagram photo and all of herself in her room, like it was just like a selfie. Some absolute creep like figured out where she was from like
think I saw
the
that.
window and the sun, and then figured out what, just then went to wherever the apartment building was, and like saw people coming in, going, and then figured out like how, like which room it was by like kind of saying like, right, okay, so it must be that high and it must be in that much, that's her room right there, and like went in and like kidnapped her, I think, or I can't remember exactly what happened, like what weird things happened. I was like, Jesus Christ, guy's down bad. Like if you have to like that shit of like fucking like it took him years to like figure out which like room it was. You're like, bro,
Jesus Christ.
I think so. I can't really remember
that culture that they have where they obsess over like
it's crazy
thing. Like they get really obsessed with like all those like. I sometimes think like that's why there's so many like suicides in Japan and like Asian countries.
Well, it's because they have that test as well. It's like basically your whole school like is just decided by like determined by this like one test, and if you fuck it up, like your life is basically over or something. Like so people just kill themselves like all the time. Like I don't know. It's like a
bit of a change from our normal
bit of change from
conversations. What?
A bit of a change from us doing fucking any test whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. It's a strange culture, I guess, of where you're just very like headstrong about certain things, like determined.
And obviously there's a lot of pressure from families and stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like there was I think there's like a movie or something about it. Like there was like this huge like cheating, like it was like the like Japanese, like pretty sure like the Yakuza were involved in like cheating. Like these rich families would like pay like the mob basically to like allow their kids to cheat in this test, and like I think there's a movie about it and like how they did it. It was like so. I don't think this part was about the mob. I think this was just like a group of students that like knew how to like trick the system by like they would travel to Australia, where certain like Japanese students would have to like sit the test first, and then or while they were sitting it they were like texting. It was like crazy how they did it, like. And it was like this like multi, like I think it was like hundreds of thousands of pounds that these guys like kind of got from like this like cheating ring. And you're like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Like just for a test.
Yeah. Not really of a comedic podcast
No.
today, but we
spooky, yes. We should
we
be
do like
Halloween episode.
yeah, we do like be versatile. You know, we like to cover a lot of bases and stuff. Like you know when you choose.
I say that there's only one other podcast that's up. All the other ones have been like scrapped.
Oh yeah.
Like there's like 5 like files of podcast, and like each time either it's like you have to bleep out too much, or
it's cut, the video cut.
The video cut, or fucking stupid shit like this. Well, now hopefully the video doesn't cut.
Yeah, every time we're upgrading, we're getting better. We're adding steps to our game.
Yeah, we're getting up there though.
But yeah, so it's just like every time you tune in, there's something.
This
new.
was a decent themed podcast.
Yeah,
we did some research, and we researched I read off a laptop for the first half. But like I don't know, it's pretty
talked
good.
about some spooky things like crime, mystery, drama, murder.
We're doing some web sleuth
conspiracy.
I feel like that's the name of my web sleuth.
We are now self-proclaimed web sleuths. I also that's the thing I was going to say. How do they become web sleuths? Did they self-proclaim themselves as web sleuths, or do they need to get like a test? Like is it like it's the stupidest thing ever. It's just like if I'm out of a job, I can just become a web sleuth and spend. That's the thing about it. Thousands of hours on what? What were you looking at? There's nothing that you could have looked at. What her fucking Tumblr blogs? We read them like fucking 45 times, or watched this one video of her freaking out in an elevator like 1,000 times. That's not helping. Who's that helping?
I'm gonna print out a wee license, laminate it, be like web sleuth.
Yeah, web sleuth.
Just like walk in a crime scene, just be like,
web
flash it like. Like, hey, Joe.
But go under like the yellow tape, and you're like, what are you doing? Web sleuth. Right here. Read them
away. What we got this? What we got here?
Yeah, what do we got?
Who is this man? Who is this man? Yeah, but anyway, I think we just perfectly hit the hour mark. Might as well end it there. This crime.
We are professionals.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been the mystery drama conspiracy podcast with
Myles.
Dan.
We're bitches.